Hey everybody, welcome back to the Chaotic Little Book Corner. My name's Acacia. Today I'm going to be doing my June Part 2 wrap-up. So let's dive in. These are in order of least to most enjoyed, and I will start with Margie Piercy's Woman on the Edge of Time. I buddy read this with Amanda Center and she DNF'd it, and then after she DNF'd it, I had the hardest time finishing it myself. I was enjoying it enough. I tolerated it enough. It was an interesting story about a woman named Connie who is living in the 1970s, and she is forcibly entered into a mental hospital, and she is told to stay there, and she starts seeing images of a man from a utopian society in 2137, and he starts taking her forward in time to see what the utopian society looks like. I thought this could be read as her being mentally unstable or as her being mentally sound and time being of a different kind of level. But either way, I really wasn't impressed, and I didn't find it an interesting story as much as I would have liked it to have been. I wasn't crazy about the characters. I didn't feel too attached to anybody, and I just was overall disappointed. Then we have Karen Thompson Walker, The Age of Miracles. I love dystopians and apocalyptic novels, and this was an exception to that. I enjoyed it. I did enjoy it. It talks about the slowing, which is a world in which time has changed because the sun has started to change its timing. So people are running on clock time and on sun time, and the world is kind of disintegrating because of the slowing. It was interesting, it was different, it was well thought out, and it was productive, and I enjoyed it, but I think it could have been done better, and I would have liked a little bit more. Like, I wish it had been a little longer. I didn't feel like I got enough out of it. I felt like I needed more from it. It does talk a lot about, not teen angst, but growing up in a society that's falling apart and what that would look like, and that was really interesting. I really enjoyed that aspect of it. I thought the characters were relatable and understandable, and I really enjoyed them, but overall, I wish there had been more to the story, and I didn't feel as connected to it as I would have liked. Then we have this is The Devil's Highway, a true story by Luis Alberto Urrea. This is a really valuable nonfiction to read right now. I picked this up when I found out about the kids that have been separated from their families, and I wanted to not feel so helpless, and I wanted to understand a little more what was going on with the people that were bringing their children across the border, even with these separations occurring. And this is the story of 26 men who cross the border and only 12 survive. And it is them going through the Devil's Highway and exploring that territory and seeing things through with gangs and the United States Police and the United States Border Patrol. It was really dark and really deep. I really enjoyed it. I felt really floored by it, and if it's this hard for grown men to handle this migration, then I don't even want to think about how traumatized these children must be. And we are only exploiting their trauma and worsening it by separating them from their parents at this time, and it needs to stop. So I felt a lot of sympathy and want to help with that story, and I was just kind of left feeling just a lot of sadness and overwhelmed, and like I needed to help. And so I have called and written my senators and Congress, and I've done everything I can, but we need more voices to kind of speak up about that. So there's that. Then there's this is The Flock, an autobiography of multiple personalities. This is prior to it being called DID. This is by Joan Frances Casey and Lynn Wilson. It is written from diary entries and notes. So it is the diary entries of a woman with multiple personality disorder, or DID, and her therapist. Now, I enjoyed this, and I thought it was a really interesting conversation to have. Some of the therapy methods, though, were really unorthodox and a little inappropriate. I was not entirely impressed with the therapist's relationship with this woman. I felt that that wasn't a judgment on the book, but I definitely would have liked to have seen a more professional and well acclimated relationship dealt with, because it would show a more plausible and fair look at a disorder. I enjoyed it though, and if you have any questions about DID, I will link my Q&A in the cards. Then I did a reread because of another book that I'm going to mention, but this was a reread to just kind of take my mind off of things. This is Solace by Gail Carriger. This is the Parasol Protector series. I enjoyed it. I gave it 4 stars this time instead of 5. I definitely felt as though it was easier than I remember it being, and it was also a little bit too simplified for me this time around. I think that when I first read it, I was so floored because I really hadn't read anything vampire or werewolf-esque in a really long time, and I really hadn't tried steampunk before, so I was so floored by the new ideas and concepts that I really loved it. And then this time around, I kind of was familiar with it, and I was able to look at it a little bit more critically, and I enjoyed it, and I still recommend it, and will still reread it a lot, but it definitely lost some of its edge. Then I read Motherhood by Sheila Heti. This was incredible. I really enjoyed this. I found this conversation about art and motherhood and trauma and life really fascinating and really fabulous. I'm on a second read of it. I've picked it up again just because I didn't go through it with a fine-tooth comb the first time around. I just kind of sped through it, and that was a mistake. So I'm diving into it a second time. I'm really excited to do that. I'm really happy to do that because I feel like there were so many ideas and thoughts that I really could have honed in on and really kind of chewed over a little more that I really appreciated, and I loved this book. I really recommend it. Then I read Octavia Butler, Lilith Brood with Amanda Center, whose channel I will link in the cards, or it'll already have been linked earlier, so you'll just have to remember her channel from before. I gave this 5 stars instead of 4 stars this time. I reread it for the second time this year. I really benefited from the reread process and also from the conversation process of reading it with Amanda and contemplating the Onkali. So this story is 3 parts. It is Dawn, Adulthood Rights, and Imago, which is a conversation, or three novels that talk about the experience of a alien society coming in and breeding with humans in order to repopulate the planet. It was really interesting. It talked a lot about consent and the idea of consent and the knowledge of consent and what that looks like in different cultures and societies. It talks a lot about the idea of free will and what that looks like, and the idea of your body and how it betrays you sometimes. It was really interesting. I really enjoyed it, and I love Octavia Butler, so I was super happy to have reread that. Then the book I enjoyed the most this month, I'm actually going to hold off on talking about, and I'm going to talk about it in my favorites. I'm going to do a favorites for this month. It's not going to be a regular thing. I'm just going to post it because I have 3 things I want to talk about, just 3, but 2 of them are things that are very important to me and I feel really need to be discussed, and one of them is just kind of fun. So I will see you all in that video. I will talk to you soon. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up. If you loved it, click that subscribe button. I will talk to you in the comments, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye.